Instead of continuing where we left off, I'm going to provide some context. You now know the story of the Titans, a folk tale of a history passed down in lore that precedes written record. In the wake of the Titans' binding and the formation of the planes, other vehicles of the divine took their place within the grand cosmology, binding themselves to the power and belief of the domains and people they served. As we move into this next chapter, there are some things you may wish to know. Though the gods themselves have taken many names and forms over the epochs and throughout Kreyth, and there are spirits and beings that would lay claim to that status, make no mistake that there are a finite number of true gods in this world whose claim to immortality and power remain untarnished by the laws of nature. First came the gods of time. Immerse seems to have always been. Immerse holds the keys of the past, the guardian of all things that came before the first epoch, the being in which memory itself is entombed. Immerse does not speak and does not change. Like the rings of a tree or a sediment of a canyon, she only marks that which has already happened. She curses and blesses those who have learned to read the signs of time, whether they heed or ignore its warnings. Immerse does not long for the past except that she knows all things that will be shall return to all that was, and all things that are all that have ever been. Firya was the first god whose becoming was marked in memory. Firya is the present, the certainty of all things that are, without regard for their beginning or end. Firya was born a mortal, the first to hold the divine magic of the earth within their hands. They stirred the passionate fires of Lemnos through the uncaring earth of Arcane, pulling energy to the surface world, to those previously untouched by the divine. From the heavens they cultivated the light of the sun and the darkness of the night sky. They moved the waters and the rain. They held each moment as the first and last. Firya does not dwell in the world of mortals, but watches its growth with great intent. It is said that Firya ascended to divinity simply because they knew it was already and always their own. Browd manifested without notice. It is unclear to most where they came from, but Browd is generally understood to have manifested directly out of the latent dreams of all who dare to dwell on things that are not or may become. All of the anxieties and joys and fears and hopes of every person, drifting through Kreyth, Nil, and Alstis, refracted through the magic that binds reality itself, reflecting back on those who created it in the first place. The power of imagination, and every wretched and wholesome thing it can beget, the knowledge that the only guarantee is uncertainty. The end is inevitable, perhaps, but everything between here and there is fair game. Then came the gods of complement. Jormungand, the god of movement, was birthed from the rifts created when Firya opened the magical channels between the energy of the Titans, the land, and those that inhabited them. Jormungand embraces change and is heralded by the energy that permeates all aspects of life and existence. Perhaps the most likely of any god to be found in the anchored lands, Jormungand takes many forms and shifts between them constantly. He watches the movement of people with a detached curiosity, and is more likely to observe than affect outcomes himself, though he is an avid collector of all things crafted. Jorgund is countered by Messenarea, the god of stasis. In response to the changes brought by Furia, Messenarea embodies all that remains. Messenarea is regarded as the consequence of crafted things, the parts of existence that cannot be removed no matter how hard one tries. Often, her presence is found in the wake of destruction. Often, there are those who create destruction to bring him about. Messenarea walks the plains in the same form, a masked wanderer who speaks in the voice of whoever is listening, who remains uninterested in the affairs of mortals, but invested in their outcomes. They are said to reside in the center of Kor, the dread realm, bringing about equilibrium in whatever way she deems fit. The binding of the Titans anchored the mortal planes to each other, with gateways forming to connect them all. Some more intentional than others, these openings let more than just individuals seep through. Two beings from the land of Ulfair and Droth mastered these passages, consolidating power for themselves in the process. Even further, they learned to navigate the space in between spaces, to move separately from distance and time, to sing songs that travel from the deepest caves of Kreyth to the infinite skies of the eternal plains, to shatter sound through time itself. Lilt and Raylish are perfect complements, two halves of one whole, resonance and dissonance, rhythm and cacophony. They ascended to immortality first and then later to divinity. None know the truth behind how they accomplished this feat, except likely Anemoros. Compared to other gods, they are the most responsive to the mortals who worship them, though the two frequently contradict each other and often their followers are at odds. Despite Furia's ties to personhood, Lilt and Raylish are perhaps the most understanding of the plight of mortals, though the expressions of sympathy and antipathy may vary. Of course, belief itself is a powerful thing. While there are certain aspects of each god that have remained unchanged through the epochs, the religions and practices of those who worship them, the beliefs of who each god is and what they control, shape their domains as much as the nature of their existence does. And we will see where religion and culture and folklore built gods into ideas and built ideas into stories. And these stories have shaped the one we find our heroes in right now. And next week, we'll continue to see just what this story will bring.